Wow, the Nintendo guy's making an FPS video. Yes, I play other games. In fact, first-person shooters are one of my favorite genres. Anyway, Half-Life 2 is one of the most praised games of all time, with countless rankings with Half-Life 2 near the top, but some people say it isn't that good. Both will hopefully get something out of this video, because as the title suggests, I'm mixed on it, as stuff I like and stuff I don't. So let's start the review. I wanted to get this point out of the way first. A lot of Half-Life 2 reviews talk about this for like half the runtime, so I'll keep this brief. It's a showcase of the Source engine, and most Source games use Half-Life 2 as a base. It was also the base for Gmod, which is super relevant to internet culture in general. There's a lot that influenced. But here's the thing, it's not really because of the game Half-Life 2. Its influence is primarily outside of the game itself, and I'm doing a review of the game. I've seen Half-Life 2 reviews where they don't even talk about the gameplay, which is extremely fucking stupid, but you do you, I guess. So yeah, I'm not gonna talk about the impact of the Source engine or anything in this review. Plus, I just feel like the "it was revolutionary" stuff is pretty boring. You came here for analysis, not a history lesson. So this is strictly about the game itself. And if we're giving out the title of most revolutionary game, Halo CE and Half-Life 1 deserve it way more. I wanted to start by talking about the visuals and environment. I think this game looks really good even today. It doesn't look like a standard realistic shooter. It has an art style. Compare it to Doom 3 and you can see what I mean. Doom 3 isn't a bad looking game, the environments are very nice. But the Half-Life 2 characters have this kind of gruff charm to them. I do play a lot of Gmod, so maybe I'm a little biased. I'm also an artist, so my opinion is more valid than yours on this topic. I win, bye bye. Animations also look really good. They're very expressive. Technologically, it still holds up, which is certainly impressive. Environmental storytelling is pretty strong. In Ravenholm, you can see the headcrab pods, and that instantly tells you what happened here. You can also see the decayed and destroyed houses with corpses telling you that these were ravaged by the Combine. Here in Sand Traps, there are corpses before you fight the Antlion Guard, which helps build them up. It's something a game does really well, and I feel like I should mention it. It makes the world feel more like a real place. Another thing that helps with that is that most of the levels are interconnected. Again, another detail that makes the world feel more real. But there are sections that counter the environmental storytelling, like some where characters directly talk to you and it's really long and boring, which brings us to... Half-Life 1 was the first FPS to really have a story, and for Half-Life 2, the story is one of the strongest aspects for most people. Because it's put on such a high pedestal, I'll be very harsh when grading it. Quick thing, I'm incapable of pointing out lazy writing like Alex's magic hack everything tool unless someone points it out. You wake up and stare at G-Man's face for like 17 hours. I get the graphics are good, but why? In Half-Life 1, you could look around and it helped get you immersed. There's constant new stuff to look at, here it's just boring. You meet the Resistance and Alex. Oh yeah, this part is also fucking boring. You stand here doing nothing and people talk for like 30 minutes. Maybe it's intended to show off the physics, but they do that later in a much better way. Maybe it was the graphics. I mean, yeah, I did mess around with the physics, but that was out of pure boredom. This is a horrible first impression, even with the environmental storytelling at the start. From what I've seen, the community agrees with me since most skip the first chapter, but this is the worst of these cutscenes. Most others are way faster and aren't a huge deal. They're like 2 minutes at most, which is reasonable. If you got turned off by this and assumed the whole game is like this, it isn't. The opening is just insanely long. The cutscenes play out in real time, but I'm gonna be honest, I'd rather have actual cutscenes rather than standing there because those would probably look a lot better, be more entertaining, and be skippable. After this, you run away for a bit and reunite with Alex. You talk and this starts the rivalry between Alex and Mossman. She tells you about Mossman and her distrust foreshadows her eventual betrayal. But you get attacked and you're told to not go through Ravenholm. The voice actors do a great job here. The way they talk about Ravenholm builds it up as a place you really don't want to go to.
That's the old passage to Ravenholm. We don't go there anymore.
You two...
Dad?
Take Gordon out of here. Head for the coast. Do not go through Raven...
Dad?
It adds to the already great atmosphere of that level, and all the human life that's left is a priest. The next story point is storming Nova Prospect to rescue Eli, and you storming Nova Prospect inspired an uprising. This is a part of the game where the mood becomes much more triumphant. You invade the Citadel but get captured. I like Mossman's arc here. She starts out like a slimy, deceptive character, but near the end she becomes a lot more noble. But Breen escapes, and bigger Alex's magic hack everything tool doesn't work for some reason. Is that a plot hole I smell? If they have the technology to stop the magic hack everything tool, why doesn't every door use it? I knew the story sucked ass, literally 0 out of 10, unplayable. Breen tries to escape, but luckily you blow up the entire tower and everyone dies. But the G-Man saves you. I like the G-Man, he's mysterious and talks weird. It makes for a unique character. Overall, this is a pretty good story, very cinematic. That's another strength of the game. It feels like a blockbuster movie. You do a lot of cool shit. I want you to hear me out through these next couple sections. Also ignore Ravenholm for now. I'll talk about that later. Let's start the gameplay sections by talking about the weapons. They're fine, I guess, but I'd say weapon variety is still an issue. Granted, it isn't the biggest one. It has some good weapons. The gravity gun is great. The crossbow is the other creative weapon. You shoot a molten rod and it one-shots most enemies. It's a very fun weapon and has a cool design. 357 is actually really fun. Just obliterate people with this. My favorite gun in the game, but 357 ammo is very limited. The shotgun is a shotgun. Shotguns are inherently kind of fun, but this one's pretty weak compared to other shotguns. It has a lower amount of ammo compared to the one in Half-Life 1. It's a very average shotgun. The SMG is very weak. It takes a full mag to kill a basic zombie or advanced soldier. For the advanced soldier, you'll probably have the pulse rifle, but even before then, the SMG is very weak. At least the impact grenades are useful. The pulse rifle is actually satisfying since you aren't shooting water balloons at your enemies. It has an energy ball which insta-kills any standard enemy. It's a good emergency option. Again, the enemy variety isn't the biggest problem, but for a lot of the game, you're stuck with generic or just bad weapons. The only fun gun you'll use frequently is the pulse rifle, and even then it's mainly fun because it actually does damage. The gravity gun is a super creative concept and very fun, but it's more of a tool than a weapon. Not to discredit how cool it is. Now I'll address the difficulty. I mentioned how the weapons deal no damage. I was playing on hard, but that doesn't really affect my point. It's not the difficulty that annoys me, that the weapons aren't satisfying, and on normal you don't need to think like you need to on hard. This is the other way bigger issue, enemy variety. You fight police, blue soldier, red soldier, white soldier. That's your enemy lineup for the most part. There are antlions and zombies, but you primarily fight soldiers. This is really disappointing compared to Half-Life 1 where you had so many unique types of aliens. You're telling me we got an aesthetic like this and we didn't get a single enemy like that? I love how the gunships and striders look and really wish we got some enemies that looked like that. They cut the assassins too, which would have been way better than the tanky soldier. You could have had a big guy that shreds you when you get close, a combine medic, again mobile assassins, artillery. There's so much cool stuff you could have done, but they just had fuck it differently colored soldiers. I like the shotgun soldier because at least it's different and adds some enemy prioritization, but functionally they're just soldiers that do more damage. The gunship with the cool aesthetic is also just a generic gunship functionally. The soldiers are also way dumber compared to Half-Life 1. They just run at you compared to the really cool tactics the Half-Life 1 soldiers would have. Striders are great, however. In the last parts of the game, you fight a ton of them. On hard, their attacks do like 25 damage per bullet, which can take you from 100 to 0 like that. They can also crouch to get you easier and blow up walls. And it's a great cinematic boss fight. Antlion guards are the other boss and they're fine, I guess. They charge at you, but they're annoying because of sprinting. But it's good to have more bosses. The antlions and headcrabs are unique enemies, but outside their specific chapters, they aren't used nearly as much as the soldiers. But here's the thing. So what I just complained about are legitimate issues. The combat is very generic for the most part, but it's kind of fun. Despite the issues, I had a lot of fun with this game. An example is Anti-Citizen 1. You move from room to room shooting Columbine, but it was still fun. That's the dilemma I'm facing, because the critical side of my brain is saying that this game isn't that great, but the emotional side of my brain is having fun with it. I could see how someone could really enjoy this game. Now, there's no way in hell it's the greatest game I've ever made, unless you're exclusively judging by how impressive the technology was, but I could see why a lot of people really enjoy it. Not to say there aren't a lot of things it does well critically, like I mentioned, the environmental storytelling and chapters like Ravenholm are amazing. Speaking of Ravenholm, yeah, this is the exception to every critique I've had in this video. There is enemy variety and weapon variety, and the environmental storytelling is at its peak. First, let's go over the enemy variety. Instead of soldier 1, 2, 3, and 4, you have zombies. We've seen zombies before when the headcrab pods crashed during water hazard. It's cool to see how a town was completely destroyed. Kid me would shit my pants at the sight of headcrabs, but they deal like 5 damage, so they aren't a big deal. There are some effective jump scares though. Fast head crabs and head crabs are the same enemy, just with some slight stat tweaks, so I'm treating them as such. They're very mobile and can whittle your health down in groups. Normal zombies are easy on their own, but they attack you in hordes and can chuck physics objects back at you, so you can't just recklessly chuck things at them. Fast zombies can jump and are super fast. Their scream is etched into my mind. Again, another enemy that made me shit my pants as a kid. I remember when I locked this door and one just bursted through the window. They're absolute assholes, but that's what's fun about them. And they aren't bullshit or anything. Poison head crabs have a long wind up, but it can bring you down to 1 HP if they hit you. They're more of a support enemy since you regenerate your health after a while. Poison zombies throw massive amounts of poison head crabs at you and are really tanky. That's 5 completely unique enemies that all have a use just for 1 level. But the weapon variety is fixed too. While these technically aren't weapons, there are multiple traps you can activate to kill zombies and it's very fun to do. I guess combat variety is a more accurate word, but whatever. The gravity gun really shines here. There are a fuck ton of physics objects you can use. My favorite being the saw blade, which can cut zombies in half. You're introduced to them in a very natural way, with a zombie being cut in half on the wall, showing you that maybe you can use the saw blades to kill things. We also have a lot of other physics related ways to kill things. Some of these traps can backfire or require good timing. Explosive barrels are the other main physics related ways to kill enemies. This will sometimes light them on fire and they'll scream like they're conscious. It's almost like they're still alive. You also need the gravity gun for non-combat puzzles. There is so much variety with the combat, even with the same weapons as the rest of the game. The atmosphere is also incredible. It feels isolated and uneasy. By far the best chapter in Half-Life 2. If the whole game was like this, I'd understand the praise. Ravenholm isn't the only good chapter in this game. Sand Traps is very fun. It's kind of broken when you realize you could just do this, but I didn't realize that until the very end. It's a good showcase of the physics engine. At the end you find Antlion Guard, which is okay. I don't like the movement in this game. I don't mind sprinting, but does walking have to be this slow? This isn't even an arena shooter thing. Half-Life 1 had better movement. Same with Halo. Either that or just get rid of the stamina system and just hold sprint to run. For this fight it's really annoying because the boss feels like it's designed around constantly running, so a lot of the time it feels like you're being forced to get hit. I'm pretty sure there are ways to manage this, but it's a little annoying when I first played. You get the bug bait from this, and you get the Storm Nova prospect. It's kind of a sad chapter because at the start it feels like it's something on par with Ravenholm. You're commanding an entire squad of antlions, and that's pretty cool. But it overstays its welcome and loses that coolness factor. If you could have only used the antlions early on in Nova Prospect and they stopped spawning around here, that would have been fantastic. Or they could have made the antlions more interesting as you go. There are also vehicle sections which are fine. Water Hazard has a cool boat part where you get to do tricks. I'd argue the last parts are a couple minutes too long, but the buggy is okay. It's fun to run people over. I talked about the Striders in the enemy section. That's a great chapter. The final chapter gives you the super gravity gun and lets you basically kill everything. It's really funny. Look at the ragdolls. There are definitely some good chapters. There aren't any I dislike besides the intro. Even Half-Life 1 had some bad ones. Granted, a lot of the levels blend together unlike HL1, but whatever. The question is, why is Half-Life 2 praised so much even by the people who didn't experience it when the technology was new and fancy? Well, I have a theory. Typically I see this on the top tiers of people who don't play many other shooters. This isn't everyone obviously, but it's common. This is a very cinematic game. Plays out like a blockbuster movie and the story contributes to that. The cinematography hides the rather bland combat and there is a power fantasy element. Or in Gen Alpha terms, it has hype moments and aura. So some people who aren't that experienced with shooters would get absorbed into the story and epic feeling of the campaign. I think that's a big part of why people today like this game so much. Again, this isn't everyone, you can like it for whatever reason. It's just a theory that's probably true for some people. That being said, it does have some strong elements, and it's pretty fun despite its issues. I'll give it a 7.5 out of 10, which is mid-B tier. Thank you for watching, like and subscribe if you enjoyed. Leave a comment if TS shit PMO'd you off. Yeah, I can't imagine this video will be received well. I hope some people see where I'm coming from. That's all, bye.